On the morning of September 2, 1999, an impeccably dressed, diminutive, slender, 84-year-old African-American man sat on the stage poised to speak to the freshman class at the B.N. Duke Auditorium at North Carolina Central University in Durham. Although he was pleased to be here, he could not help thinking about how his wife, Joanna, back in Cleveland, had tried to keep him from going, for she feared her husband's health would be further jeopardized by the trip. John B. McLendon understood that Joanna's fears were real, for 2.5 months earlier he had been diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. A month afterward, as the doctor at the Cleveland clinic was preparing to operate, John and his wife found out that the cancer had spread so extensively throughout his body that an operation was inadvisable. The little coach, who had spent his lifetime breaking through so many social barriers, could not break free of this physical one. He was dying, but a sense of purpose and a profound faith in the Almighty gave him the strength to carry on. McLendon was introduced to the freshman class by Alex Rivera, the former director of public relations at the university and a close friend of his since 1939. Rivera talked about McLendon's numerous accomplishments, especially how, in 1941, he had given the school its first championship in any sport. He was respected and genuinely loved by the students and the faculty at what was then North Carolina College for Negroes, said Rivera. They called him Little Coach. He is on a pinnacle by himself. Then it was McLendon's turn to speak. Although the lift in his voice was missing and the smile on his face a little less bright, those seated in the audience could not miss the strength of conviction behind his every word. His memory was still sharp as he spoke to the young students about his 15-year tenure at their school from 1937 to 1952, and how their grandparents' generation had been forced to fight the shackles of segregation every step of the way. He told them how he and his players had used courage, ingenuity, determination, and creative skill to overcome the obstacles that confronted them, and how hard they had worked to instill pride and dignity in themselves, their college, and so many others in doing so. As he had done many times before, McLendon shared with these young students reminders about how to live, about dealing with people, about respect for themselves and all human beings. He ended his talk with a plea that the students never sacrifice their morals or values to win. Always choose dignity and do your best, he said, and you will come out on top. The pride and humility of this legendary man evoked in the audience an appreciable response. This would turn out to be his last public appearance. After returning home, McLendon drove to Cleveland State University to meet his students on the first day of class for his course entitled The History of Sports and the Role of Minorities in Its Development. Always the professor, McLendon loved teaching this class and felt it a privilege that the university invited him to return year after year. Dressed impressively in a double-breasted blue jacket, gold lapel pin, gray pants, and black buckled shoes, and with a white handkerchief in his jacket pocket, he introduced himself and handed out the course materials, which he had spent years developing. Sports has been one of the most important agents for breaking down barriers in this country because it is so visible, he told his students. We are going to learn in this class how the achievers in all these different sports became achievers. And to do that, you have to understand the context, the conditions under which they lived. He gave his students a few evocative examples of courageous men and women who had used sports as an important medium in the social revolution called the modern civil rights movement.